Okay, 32 NHL teams. Who do I think of when I hear or see a specific team's logo, or someone brings up someone, let's say the Anaheim Ducks and Trevor Zegras being a total dickhead in what he said to Troy Stecher? If he did say that, shame on him. I'm sure he'll get his comeuppance soon. Anyway, 32 teams. Who do I think of when each team is brought up? Comment down below your thoughts and who you think of when a team is mentioned. For example, the Anaheim Ducks, I think of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. I think of D1, D2, and D3, the movies. I even think the Mighty Ducks series. And I think Paul Kariya. I think back to Paul Kariya getting walloped by Scott Stevens in the Stanley Cup Finals, coming back. He wouldn't have came back if it was nowadays. He would have been in massive concussion protocol. But anyway, he comes back, slap shot, beats Marty Brodeur. They win that game. That's what I think of when I think of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, or the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Next up, well, we got the Arizona Coyotes. I still think of them as the Phoenix Coyotes. I think of them as the Phoenix Coyotes with Kachina back in the day. And then obviously with the Howling Coyote, I think of Captain Shane Doan. It's pretty cool for him. He got to draft his own son into the organization. I think it was last year or the year before. It might have been last year. So I think Shane Doan when I hear Arizona. In second place, I think of Austin Matthews, because everyone keeps talking about how Austin Matthews is going to sign with the Arizona Coyotes when his deal is up with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Boston Bruins, Patrice Bergeron. I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and Patrice Bergeron has been, well, part of the history of Buffalo, absolutely decimating all hopes and dreams of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Toronto Maple Leafs faithful, I would call us. Leafs Nation. Leafs forever. Bruins are better. God. And Patrice Bergeron's one of the reasons for that. Leadership, poise, he's just so damn good and so damn clutch. Patrice Bergeron, back in the day, when I was younger, I would probably say like Ray Bourque, because I watched a lot of like NHL Overtime and NHL VHS tapes. Ray Bourque was always involved in there. He was in that massive game that went into like double or triple overtime at the Forum. Lights went out and everything. I think it was Peter Lima who scored the game winner, who hadn't played for like 4 periods. But yeah, I think Patrice Bergeron for the Boston Bruins. Buffalo Sabres, I think Dominic Hasek. Dominic Hasek in the blue, Dominic Hasek in the black, Dominic Hasek flopping around like a fish on water. What am I talking about? Fish on land. I don't know why. Why was he so good? You drop his stick and just shove that blocker down on the ice on the goal line and make ridiculous saves. God, the Dominator. Just nuts. Anyway, Buffalo Sabres, Dominic Hasek. We are on the Calgary Flames, and I think Jarome Iginla, one of the greatest captains there could be, who doesn't have a Stanley Cup. He's won the Rocket. Did he win the Hart? Should have won the Stanley Cup. Martin Gellero definitely scored that. He's one of these captains who would, well, you know what? I kind of wish Anaheim had one, because they would have put Zegras in his place if what he said was actually true. To Calgary Flames, Jarome Iginla, close second. Landon McDonald winning the Stanley Cup in 1989 with a big old mustache. Yes, that was the year I was born, but again, remember, I watched a lot of VHS hockey, so I've seen it all. Well, not at all, but I've seen a lot of it. Next up, Carolina Hurricanes, Rod Brind'Amour. And I don't even just picture him as a coach, I picture him with the C in Carolina, red jersey. It was really cool when they first came into the league. He was the captain there, he had his tongues out on his skates. He's just an absolute beast. Rod Brind'Amour for the Carolina Hurricanes. Chicago Blackhawks, Bobby Hull, just passed away. Would be one guy you might think of. Jeremy Roenick, when he got that breakaway goal and said Patrick Waugh's jockstrap was up in the rafters. And then Patrick Waugh said, no, I can't hear what Jeremy said, with 2 Stanley Cup ring plug in my ear. So many options for Chicago. But me, it's Eric Daze and what he could have been. When I think of Chicago, I think Eric Daze was a big guy with a bunch of skill that just didn't put it together. So that's the first person, surprisingly, that I think of with Chicago, mainly because growing up, he was a name that you kept hearing a lot. We move on, we'll go to Colorado, and Joe Sakic, one of these leaders again. I just remember him going around that right side, a la Marc Messier, that little snapshot, so nice, so just accurate. He had his running mates in, who do you have? Like Kamensky in there. You had Forsberg, obviously. Milan Hajduk in there. Adam Denmarsh. You got Foote back there. Blake played for him for a bit. You got Patrick Waugh too. But Joe Sakic for Colorado. His battles with Detroit and everything, that's who I think of. Columbus Blue Jackets, I think Rick Nash, number 61, former London Knight. I had a friend who actually absolutely loved the London Knights and Rick Nash. When Rick Nash got drafted first overall by Columbus became his team. He still supports them to this day. Injuries kind of slowed his career. Damn. Big boy with a shot and some speed. And he's got some hands. Everyone saw his goal. I think it was against Arizona. Why does everyone score these amazing goals against Arizona? I'm thinking Alex Ovechkin as well, but he's just a really good player. You wish you could have seen more from him. Columbus Blue Jackets, Rick Nash. Dallas Stars, Mike Modano, again, Mighty Ducks. I think it was D2. They weren't in Minnesota. They weren't the North Stars anymore. They were the Dallas Stars. They got to watch a game. Mike Modano flying out there, his jersey waving like it's a cape. That's who I think of right there. Yeah, Mikey Modano. Detroit Red Wings, similar to Colorado, captain Stevie Y. Bionic knees, pulling his guys to the Stanley Cup. But the biggest one is him scoring against Wayne Gretzky when he was playing for St. Louis, coming over the blue line. That slap shot, Wayne Gretzky was on the ice. Wayne Gretzky might have turned that puck over. I can't really remember correctly. All I remember is the slap shot, white taped, wooden stick, bombs at top corner. Detroit wins. He's jumping, cheering. Stevie Yzerman. And the Yzer plan is in full effect in Detroit. They're going to be a good team for a long time. They've got some great pieces there. They're just missing a few, and I'm sure he already has the players penciled in, maybe even penned in, of who's going to fit where to bring his team to that next level and bring back the dynasty era of the Detroit Red Wings. Who do we got next? Edmonton Oilers, Wayne Gretzky, greatest player of all time. And if anyone says anything different, look at the points. It doesn't matter if he's in the 80s. People weren't putting up those points. Wayne Gretzky, I think he's... How does a guy have 2,800 points plus and somehow still is underrated? That's how I see it. Like, his skating was great. His vision was insane. He had a good shot. Just makes it work. And with Edmonton, with the dynasty and bringing so many cups and 50 goals in 39 games and all these records, you got to give it to Wayne. Florida Panthers, I give it to Pavel Bure. I think he had 3 seasons of like 60 plus goals, 58 or 59, then another 60. The Russian Rocket, injuries, knee issues really, create a stumbling block for him, and he had to recuperate, then come back, and then recuperate, and then come back. But damn, was he good, and he was great for Florida. He single-handedly brought them to the Stanley Cup playoffs, and just an outstanding player. I loved him for Vancouver. I loved him for Florida when he went there. And he said, get me the heck out of Vancouver now and get me to Florida. Who do we got for L? Los Angeles Kings, duh. And I'm going to go with Wayne Gretzky. I think LA, I think of the trade. I think of him saying, I told Mark I wasn't going to do this, and crying, and then going to LA and just changing hockey in California, setting more records. He set the goal, not the goal. Did he set the goal record there? Yeah, set the goal record there. The high stick against Dougie Gilmour in the 93 playoffs. They eventually lost to Montreal in the Stanley Cup, but could have been Toronto there because Wayne Gretzky was on the ice when he got the game-winning goal, and he should have been in the box, and then they win it in Game 7 or whatever, and he runs with like on the toes of his skates, and he brought the black and silver there to LA. What a guy! What a brilliant hockey player! Amazing. Minnesota Wild for M. Minnesota Wild, Marian Gaborik. And the moment I think of Marian Gaborik is when Dominic Hasek took him out and he did like the front flip, the somersault over top of Hasek coming out because Gaborik was chasing the puck with his head down. He had some skill and speed. He had injuries that derailed his career, similar to Nash, similar to Bure. You saw peaks and peaks and valleys in his career, but like those peaks, you just wish they stayed for a little bit longer. Montreal Canadiens, I'm not going to pick him, but the Rocket Richard, Maurice the Rocket Richard, phenomenal. Obviously, I never got to watch him play, but The Rocket, the movie, is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in French, and it doesn't matter. It is so damn good. Please go see it if you haven't already. For me, there's two guys. I think Patrick Waugh is my number one. So Patrick Waugh is who I think of. Him winning the Stanley Cup in 1993, looking so thin, so sweaty, working his butt off. He's the reason there. Obviously, then when he said, "Get me the hell out of Montreal," after that 8 goals against, and he makes a save, the crowd's like jeering, and he tells the coach basically like, "F you, I'm not playing here again," goes to Colorado, wins the cup. And then I think Patrick Waugh is the main one, but the next one would be like Vinny Domfus, because in those NHL overtime 93, Vinny Domfus, the curl, the shot, the block, or it gets stopped, he picks it up again, curls again, shoots, scores, 5-hole, they win. Like that's the stuff I kind of remember. So Waugh, Domfus, Rocket. Nashville Predators, I think NHL 2005, Steve Sullivan, water bug out there. Yep, that's an easy one. Stevie Sullivan, Nashville Predators. New Jersey Devils, Scott Stevens. Similar to what I said the first time with Paul Kariya. Just think of a man who hits people dangerously and hits them hard. That's it, Scott Stevens. New York Islanders, I think of Nystrom, because the 70s, 80s dynasty era of the New York Islanders, and again, it's all those NHL overtime, best overtime goals, and him scoring that big one just in front of the net there, potting it in. I guess the next would be John Tavares, because I'm a Leafs fan, and he was on Long Island, then he came to Toronto, and the Islanders hate his life. But Nystrom's my first pick. That's who I think of. I think it was Nystrom. Was it him? Comment down below if he did score that big goal in the playoffs way back when. New York Rangers, I think of Mark Messier. We will win Game 6. Gets a hat trick. That's it. That's all you need to know. Pure leader. That helmet. He's similar to Sakic, coming down that right side, shooting back towards his left. Just a snipe every time. Ottawa Senators, Daniel Alfredsson, curly-haired Daniel Alfredsson with Heatley and Spezza. Daniel Alfredsson that faked to throw his stick like Sundin did. His good friend Sundin, just to take the piss out of him. Daniel Alfredsson, they had one of the best lines ever in hockey. And it was so weird when he went to Detroit. I wish he kind of would have just stayed in Ottawa for his entire career. Philadelphia Flyers, Eric Lindros. Big guy, man amongst boys when he was playing junior hockey, man amongst boys when he was playing in the NHL. Scott Stevens had to do that hit, which was to the head, buggered him up, he dealt with injuries and stuff after that, but when he was healthy, did he ever dominate? He won him and Yager both had the Hart Trophy or whatever, 70 points in whatever amount of games, 40-something games. Was that back in 94? Maybe, I think 1994. Like just a solid player. And my memory is him getting a penalty off the draw when the ref dropped the puck, and Lindros just ran through his centerman. Just phenomenal. I also think of Jeremy Roenick scoring against Toronto. I think it was in Game 6 in overtime, wearing those silly silver Easton skates, just being a douche. Pittsburgh Penguins, my favorite player of all time, Jaromir Jagr. I think of him. I think of Lemieux. I think of Straka and Ron Francis and Kevin Stevens, Larry Murphy. But it's Jaromir Jagr through and through. Mario Lemieux, I think, is the second best player of all time. Jaromir Jagr has the second most points of all time. He should have more. He's still playing at 50. He has like 9 points in 15 games. Last time I checked for Kladno. I wish I would have went to see a game. They were playing when I was in Czechia for a tournament back in 22? No, 2021. November 2021. I should have seen him play there. That would have been amazing. The Jaromir Jagr, everywhere he went, has been just a superstar, and that's what he is. Favorite player of all time, Pittsburgh Penguins. I think of him right away. My wife got me a Jagr, Pittsburgh Penguins, like the triangle penguin, Robo Penguin. captain jersey. I freaking love it. I would collect, I've got him in Florida as well. I got to collect all of them. There's so many now. I'm going to collect them all. So Jaromir Jagr, Pittsburgh Penguins. San Jose Sharks, I think of Owen Nolan, cover boy of NHL 2001. All-Star game, point to the top corner, beat Hassett, left-hand side. Loved him when he was initially coming to Toronto. Didn't really pan out because he was old, but he was younger than me than what I am now. But hey, I feel I've lost about 50 steps, so I don't blame him. Seattle Kraken, I just think of Jared McCann. They're brand new and fresh, and Jared McCann could be a Maple Leaf and Kerfoot Hall could not be, but instead they didn't do it, and that was one of the things Dubas chose to do that I do not agree with, and I'm kind of disappointed. I'm very disappointed. Would the Leafs be able to afford McCann? Maybe they'd make it work, but that's why I think Jared McCann of Seattle, because he should be a Maple Leaf. St. Louis Blues, I think of Chris Pronger, NHL 2000. Just a beast, a tall, gangly, angry man. And he just made it work. And then from there, he did it in Philly, he did it in Edmonton and Anaheim. And yeah, Chris Pronger, St. Louis Blues. Tampa Bay Lightning, I think of Vinny LeCavalier, like Jerome McGinley. Just hard-nosed, works for his team. He fought Iginla game 1, I think, of that Stanley Cup final back in 2004. I loved him. I love Vinny LeCavalier. Him and like Jagr, like tall lefties. That's what my dad was, and that's I don't know. I think I gravitated to players like that. Kind of played similar to my father. And Vinny LeCavalier was one of them. I actually used his face because he was one of the guys that actually had freckles in NHL. So I used him as my picture when I did my creative player when I was younger. So yeah, Vinny LeCavalier, Tampa Bay Lightning. Toronto Maple Leafs, Captain Matt Sundin. Grew up with him. Slap shots from the point at like a dead, not even like really moving, going in on penalty shots and or breakaways and shooting top corner, top right corner, or goalie bites, I'm gonna go to my backhand instead and score. He's going with so much speed. Just a strong ox that, God, I wish I could play like him. Yeah, Toronto Maple Leafs, Matt Sundin. Through and through. I would love a Matt Sundin 13 captain jersey. Wife, Olivia, if you're watching this, go to that, yeah. Sundin captain jersey. Number 13. Your favorite number. Next up, what do we got? Vancouver Canucks, Pavel Bure. So many goals. Goal I think of right away is the preseason. He's wearing 96 instead of 10, and he puts it off his skate around the goalie. Just pure speed, pure spectacle. I love the Brian Burke story about how they got Pavel Bure. Watch it, listen to it on the Sportsnet YouTube channel. Obviously, this isn't sponsored. It's just really good. The Hey Berkey segments, love them. Pavel Bure, superstar. Vegas Golden Knights, Marc-Andre Fleury and Alan Walsh. Client to Alan Walsh. It's Alan Walsh and him with the sword stabbed in Fleury's back. That's what I think of with Vegas, because they just bugger up everyone. So there we go. Alan Walsh is who I think of, but it's of Marc-Andre Fleury for the Vegas Golden Knights. In second place, we'll go with Jack Eichel with his frizzy hair. Yeah, let's go with that. W. We're going to go with the Washington Capitals. Alex Ovechkin. Hands down. We talked about his goal earlier. He's going to be the greatest goal scorer of all time, and he is. If you watch, like on the power play and stuff, he's in his spot. He knows eventually the puck's going to come, and he's going to shoot it, and it's going to go in. He's just in the correct spot, and he was super fast, powerful. He is super fast, powerful, strong, and he might not have the hardest shot, but it is an accurate shot. He does have a hard shot, but even like the hardest shot competition, he's not up there with Weber and Chara and stuff, but it's just so darn accurate. And he has like a small stick too. It's really weird. Winnipeg Jets, Teemu Selanne, 72 goals in his rookie season. This is a record that will not be beaten by anyone in the future. No one. Connor Bedard, not going to do it. Teemu Selanne, his goals, his throwing up his glove and shooting it. It's so awesome. But yeah, there's my 32 teams. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. If I have, comment down below. Who do you think of when a team gets brought up? All right, take care, everyone. Have a good one.